Greetings once again, model railroad party people. This is Larry welcoming you to episode number 93 of my South Olympic Branch update series. A couple of years ago, Rapido announced that they were coming out with some Jeep 38s, which I have a weakness for. And they're coming out with those in Burlington Northern. These would be kind of an upgrade to the Athearn ones that I've had for a while, and so I thought I'd try, I'd order one and see what would happen and see how they looked. Well, came in. In the meantime, I've actually sold one of the Jeep 38s that I used to have, so I can at least use that as a little bit of an excuse, right? Right. Anyway, so let's take a look at this thing. Typical Rapido stuff. Another Rapido sticker, or stickers. Looks like they got a new sticker. I don't know why, but I want to show you. I want to see what the new sticker looks like. Rapido trains quality since 2004. Now, one of the things they didn't list when they announced these was their Mo power capacitor. And I asked him, I said, does this one actually have that? And it sounds like they actually told me it wasn't going to have it, but I think they revised it in the middle. So it might actually have the Mo power capacitor. Matter of fact, the box actually says it has it. So that'd be cool. I try to keep my track clean, but guys, I mean, it's always handy to have that little extra backup, right? So let's see. Plastic shell. Let's move the box out of the way. And I probably shouldn't be doing this on the lamp, but we are. So here we go. Okay. Let's drop her down a little bit and take all the foam out of the way. And let's take it out of the package the rest of the way. It's kind of sticking in. Oh, I see they taped it. They put a piece of tape on there. Maybe they were afraid it was going to come, it was going to come out without that. I've never had that happen with one of those plastic shells, but you just never know. I suppose there's first time for everything. I got the foam. Take the extra foam pieces out of there. Now, one guy said that I saw a post on another modeler's video that said that apparently some of the fans came installed upside down. I'm not going to know if that is true or not. And, if it is, I suppose Rapido will probably have some kind of a notation if you want to get it fixed. There's a certain level of detail stuff, even for me, that gets to the point where beyond where I care. But, my reasons for upgrading were basically that I like the capacitor idea. I like the idea that the new ones are supposed to have class lights. The Rapido will likely have lit number boards, which the Athearns, until recently, they didn't do that. And you know, the newest capacitor, or the newest tsunami DCC decoders they sound really good, and they're pretty comparable to the Loc sound that Rapido installs. But I do actually think that the Rapido, or that the Loc sound has been just a little bit better sound. Although, like I said, it's pretty close. You could probably, you know, if you wanted to, we could debate about that. I don't really want to debate about that. Is that fan upside down? Oh, hell, I don't know. Could be. Anyway, so I'm going to pause it for a minute and turn on the system. All right. I got to do this. Let's see. Yeah, let's... Okay, haven't been programmed yet, so this is going to be on 3. Okay. And of course it's loud, but that's not really a requirement for me. Let's blow the horn though. Solid. What about the bell? Sounds good. It's 3D. I probably should go up the manual and see what's what. First, I'm gonna put it in forward. Headlights on, and nice low-speed performance, right? Trade pricing effect or something. One thing I just noticed that I wasn't aware of. Okay, just for the ridiculousness of it all, I wanted to go through some of the lighting features of this thing. So first I'm going to toggle into the function 10 through 20, or 10 through 19 area here. And that is where you would turn off and on, for example, the directional class lights if equipped. Now, this model does have those. I don't know if you can see in the video those turning on and off. I haven't tried the reverse ones. Let's see. Yep, those were actually easier to see. Now, I might show you those here in a minute. There's, of course, the on and off for the walkway. 11 is the beacon. Now, this is interesting because the rotary beacon on this appears to be just a solid yellow. That might be something that was kind of a feature of that locomotive, and knowing Rapido, it probably is, but I'll have to look into that. Let's see. 12 is switching mode. I haven't read what switching mode actually means. Although I did notice the headlights went on and off when I did that. 13s, rear headlights, F14, class lights, front class lights. You can turn on the front class lights and the rear class lights independently. So, yep. And then ditch lights are F15, 16, or 16 and 17, I should say. And those not gonna have, because this locomotive didn't have that. Those didn't exist when the real thing came out. Okay, F18 is track / walkway / control stand lights, and F19 is number board. So 18, if I hit that, you'll see that the walkway light on the front went off. There's one on the very back of the locomotive. I didn't see any on the side. Turn that back on for the moment. Then the number boards are independently controllable, and I see that turns off both the front and rear. Okay, and those are a few of the lighting features of this locomotive. Now, if you ask me, and this is kind of a nitpick, but I really wish they would have bumped things that are in the lower section, the F0 through 11 or F0 through 9, up to something higher, and left room for like the beacon to be turned on in those lower numbers. But I suppose I could probably reprogram that. I'm not going to. Shock them. Shock of all shocks, I'm sure. Anyway, so that's it. Now I'll need to do a break-in period on this thing, which means I need to let it run around the layout for a while. It occurred to me that I did want to show you guys what the rear class lights look like. Those are a little brighter than the front ones. That I found was interesting. And then the walkway light, like I said, was 18. There it goes. That one also, they said, controls the track light, which should be mounted underneath. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's kind of dim, so won't be able to see that except at night. Control stand light. Oh no, you can see that. Let me drop the camera down a little bit, and maybe we'll get a good look at that. Isn't that something? Kind of crazy. Not something you're going to be looking at a lot, but interesting nonetheless. Now, this is my kind of yard work. I wrote the service people at Rapido and said, hey, is that beacon supposed to be solid or is it supposed to flash? And they told me that was a programming error, and then told me to change some CVs to fix it. And after doing so, you can see it now acts more like a beacon. Pretty cool, huh? On this turnout, which exits the helix to the main level, I discovered I was having occasional derailments. And so I went to investigate. I found two things that were problematic. One was a piece of scenery material that was on the turnout, but I'm pretty sure this was happening before I put this piece of scenery back there. So I started looking and with my gauge here, and I discovered there's just a little bit, it's not quite tight here. There's enough play that I would think that might cause an issue. Some investigation, I'm thinking what I'm going to do is take the solder joint here, squeeze the turnout a little bit. Okay, so there's still a little bit of play in that. This is a lot more solid. Yeah, that's too much probably. I'll have to figure out what I need to do about that. But anyway, I may have to rebuild this turnout, as much as I hate to do that. But when you get down into this section, it's hard to fix it. Although, what's my flange like? Well, I might be able to do something with that. I don't know. I'm going to run a locomotive through this now. One of the ones that was derailing here, and see if I can test it. Okay. So that's looking better. To be honest, I run this through about 4 times before I started the camera. I mean, I have some guts, but you know, something like this, you want to test it before you bother holding the camera at the same time. Woohoo, that seems to have fixed it. You know, I was standing on a step stool and reaching over with the soldering iron to fix that. And while doing so, I dropped my track gauge and it fell and it kept going. For a moment, I thought it was going to do the scene from The Lord of the Rings where Merry and Pippin knock down some chains in the mines of Moria and then stir some creatures from below that then try to kill them. That's what usually happens when I lose a tool like that. But this time it just fell a couple of feet and I didn't even have to get off the ladder. I keep looking at this area from the other side, and the unpainted plywood is, well, it's like a spotlight. So I'm going to have to get back there and take care of that. Luckily, I can just lift out that foam piece back there. If I were going to try to, you know, video this, I really should have just brought my tripod in here, I suppose, but there you go. And you wouldn't think that, you know, you'd be able to see all of this through the hole, but it's actually been surprising to me just how much of this I can actually spot. Sometimes you get started on something and you realize it would be a whole lot better if you just went the whole darn way and finished it. So I'm going to do this side too. Okay, well, I'm way happier with that now, although it's still a little shiny because the color towards the front here is not quite dry, and that's why I haven't put the bridge back yet. And as soon as I do that, I can tell I'm going to have to paint that turnout back there, which I really never thought I'd have to do, but I'm going to have to do that. But I put the other scenery pieces back, and like I said, got a lot of work to do. Well, I guess I didn't say that, but anyway, there it is. I think it's going to look So much better. And of course, after doing that, it hit me. I'm gonna have to weather that track before I go too much farther. That's, glaringly obvious. Because if I get all that scenery in the way, I'm gonna be really annoyed with myself if I go to do that later. So it's the next morning, paint is dry, and I drilled 3/16 holes in the deck to insert some pieces of this evergreen styrene. Before I did that, I needed to locate those holes, and they didn't need to be too precise, but I did need to know where they were. So on the bottom of one of these, I took a piece of this Rix and I put it here, and then I used it to make a drawing on the layout of where it would be, and then I used that to locate my holes. So I drew circles, and again, it didn't need to be super precise, so did that. And last night I actually glued these supports to the bottom of this. I didn't get it in the exact right spot, of course, but then I've got these set up so that they can drop into place. Whoops, that one didn't, of course. And that just helps hold the bridge in a really sturdy way right there. And then a couple of those holes go all the way through the deck. And the idea there is I might be able to eventually do some wiring up through there and put some street lamps on the bridge. That's probably going to happen, but it'll take me a while to get to it. Adding a pair of ties in at the end of this turnout to fill that in, as it is very obvious through the other hole that it's not, through the other side, that there's some missing ties there. And I've got to go back and add some more in back here too, but we'll get to that eventually. This is more obvious. That looks way better from this end. Not on the camera, but to the naked eye, it sure does. So I took some leftover Fast Tracks wood ties and filled in some gaps in the turnout there. And then I painted the whole thing with watered down burnt umber. I've also been working on my foam scenery pieces, adding a few more trees and more texture to it with my Woodland Scenics underbrush and Hecky floor that's leftover bits of that. Stuff looks like, the mix looks like that. And then I'm gonna put some of that back there on this piece here, and I'll probably do more of that there. I'm waiting for a Scenery Express order to show up. But anyway, this really gives this this scene more depth from the other side. I'll show you that to you in a second. So now you can kind of see it from the other side, and it's like one of those things. I got to do something with the lighting back there, and that that bridge support. But when a train comes through, this scene will look a lot better now when you get the video of the train approaching from under the viaduct. Coming back up the helix, it turns out the weight of this train was just a little too much for the one Jeep 35, but I had another one, a Jeep 20, number 2042, that's also a Broadway Limited. They run really well together, make a nice pairing. I like multi-unit operations. I'm putting together another pier for this overpass, or viaduct, whatever you want to call it. And so when I put these together, I use the plastic weld, and they never seem to, most plastic parts I find don't usually go together as smoothly as you would like them to. But usually this stuff melts the plastic pretty good. And what I'll do is after I get the glue on there, I'll actually kind of squeeze it together, and sometimes it'll kind of bubble up a little bit, if you will. It'll kind of start to spread out. And I'll just run my finger over that, and it tends to seal up the joint on this stuff pretty good. You can see there's no seam visible there. Something like this is where the Ultimation slicer comes in really handy. I'll just move the stop down, put the blade down here, move the stop down there. Get the stop in the right spot. And I took this piece off of the other pier, so I want that other one to be the same length. So now I should just be able to take one of the pieces off of this pier. And of course, that should get me the same. Okay, the newer one's nearer, so those should be good to go. You'll notice it didn't trip the signal, and that's because this signal is only running off the tortoise. So as long as that stays for the set for this track, it'll keep going. Okay, done a little more scenery work here. My Scenery Express order came in, and or Scenic Express, their website works either way if you search for that. Anyway, and I put some more of the trees I already had in place. Made this with super trees, made that one super trees, that's super trees, that's super trees, that's super trees. The rest of these are all trees that I bought. And I think it's coming out pretty good. To zoom back a little bit, I think I'm going to put more trees and stuff in front of the track out here, and after I get that track laid. The city of Burien has an annual event called Arts Alive, and the Boeing Employees Model Railroad Club takes part by opening the layout for the evening on a Saturday during the year. This Saturday, I was over there running trains with Caleb and Sandy and a couple of other guys. Here goes my Burlington Northern train, heading up towards, I believe what's called Diablo Lake. In the Everett section of the layout, my train continues on, and in this portion, we're going to meet up with the BNSF SDA 60Ms, owned by one of the other members whose name is Travis. Here they come now. On the left there, you'll see Sandy. He's running a Southern Pacific train of reefers that's going away from us. We had about 80 visitors or so in between the hours of 7 and 10 p.m. on this Saturday evening.
Something like that. anything or anything like that?
I'm not trying to confuse you, it's just there's a lot of, because you have the lower level, and then once you loop around and get to the upper level, it kind of changes to where we're headed to home at. That makes sense. So out of Seattle, when you come to the and then you're
So I was looking at laying in some more pink foam along the white foam that I have here for this beginning of the grade into the upper helix. And I decided to actually go with plaster cloth over here because I was going to need to fill over to cover the holes or the gaps in the white foam. And that was going to be annoying one way or the other. So I just went ahead and put plaster cloth on it. And then looking at it, I'm going to go over and lay in some Sculptamold on that and then paint it. And I think I'll probably fill in the little gaps here with some Sculptamold as well. And I'm going to figure out what I'm covering that with, because I don't want the plywood to just be bare there. Maybe I'll put some paper down for that or something. Anyway, progress is progress. In the meantime, I've smeared some more Sculptamold around over here. And I actually meant to record myself doing some of that because I know how much you guys love to watch the work. But I did it and had my hands in the gloves and the Sculptamold mixed up, and I went, whoops, oh well. There'll probably be more later. So I've decided to try building a hill higher here and see if I can just leave this backdrop in place or if I'm actually going to have to buy another one. And since I love building scenery, having a big old hill here seemed like something that would be fun. We'll see how this works out. And right now I've just got things pinned together. I don't have it glued. I've also used some lever nuts and some of these pre-wired barrel connectors to create an extension for my for the power cable for this LED light strip here. This is not the permanent setup. I mean, it looks kind of janky right now, but it works really well. But at least it's plugged into the setup for the lower deck lights. So when the lower deck lights are on, that's on. Even though the Sculptamold wasn't completely dry yet, I went ahead and threw a wash of burnt umber on it. And I'm going to let that dry some before I start throwing some scenery on top of that. But I can't go too crazy with it because I need to do something with the edge down here yet. So after building or assembling these big chunks of foam and cutting them and all that, I realized it's still not going to turn out with this backdrop the way that I would want it to. So I am going to have to order another backdrop for this section. And then I'll be cutting it in a different spot than this one is. But that's kind of what I thought I was going to have to do. So sometimes you have to do that experimentation before you find out what the end goal or what the end project is going to look like. Been on sort of a scenery kick the last few days, and I put in some more ground foam and some bushes and such along the side of the building here. I had thought about extending the track down here and maybe just, making it look like overgrown track. And I don't know, at some point I might still do that, but not right now. And then I've also been filling in some of the scenery along the track over here as well, working way around the corner on the outside. Just, you know, making that look more green, and I think it's gonna work pretty good. I think it looks pretty good in there. Well, everybody, thanks for joining me for episode 93 of my South Olympic Branch Update series. Until next time, everybody take care and have fun with your trains out there.